Hello, welcome everybody to our third part of our webinar series presented by Florida Women's Law Group. I'm Michelle Cook, Heather Quick's executive assistant, and I'd like to just give you guys some information about Heather before we get started. Heather Quick has been a licensed Florida attorney for the past 20 years, and the majority of her practice over the years has been in family law. But all of her 20 years have been involving litigation, meaning she goes to court and advocates for one position or another. She is the founder and CEO of Florida Women's Law Group here in Jacksonville, Florida. And our firm is working 100% virtual right now. Our entire staff is available during regular hours, and we can assist you with any of your family law issues. So please give us a call if you have any questions, or if you need to speak with an attorney, we'd be happy to get that set up for you. So please join me in welcoming Heather Quick to the third and final portion of our webinar series.
Good everyone, and welcome. I'm really excited that we have this opportunity to join you by video and get this message and this information to you. As you can see, I'm working from home today. This little home office is pretty cramped. For all of the viewers who are in virtual school, that would be my family as well. And so we are adjusting to our current circumstances and working hard to make it work for everyone. So I have this limited time in the office, and then I've got to switch out with the kids and work through other areas that don't require the ability to close the door. So for all of you here today, we are talking about how we're handling family law issues, specifically as it relates to children right now in light of the global pandemic and what is going on with the courts, the schools, and our employment. And as Michelle indicated, our office is open and available for you. And I recognize that in times of increased stress, changes, and issues, that we are beyond our control, it increases the stress in the family, and it increases the tension and the issues that may have been there underlying, as they are with many of us, but it gets a bit magnified in these types of circumstances. So please consider our office here as a resource. Not that everything leads to divorce and or even disagreements currently with your former spouse doesn't mean necessarily that it needs to lead to litigation. You just may need some assistance, some guidance, some advice. That's what we're here for. Please use us as a resource. Our office is open. Not everyone is open. Not everyone is able to function at the level we are. And that's why I want you to know we're here for you. So let's talk about family law issues that are going on and some questions that I've been fielding. Now, as a recap, I discussed the last two beginning of the series. There's a little bit of overlap, but discuss parenting plans, the standard language, issues that are coming up for a lot of individuals, a lot of women, as it relates to how we deal with time sharing. Our parenting plan doesn't discuss what happens when schools shut down, what happens when there is a change in our work schedule and how we work, and then who has the children. So now it's time to be creative and ideally work together. That is what the courts always are suggesting. And I know that that's what you are hoping for as well, but unfortunately it doesn't always work that way. So you might need a third party to come in and guide you through this process. So know that yes, there are some solutions, but they may not be readily apparent. As you know, it's easier as an outsider to look into a situation and maybe bring some clarity and some decisions or some options that you may not have considered. So that's where we're hoping we can assist you at this time the most. So let's talk about time sharing. All right, so we have, depending on where you are in school with your children and their school schedule, you may have already had spring break and that has gone through, but now children are home and you're trying to deal with it. And then there are other schools that spring break is coming up. I do want to touch a little bit more today on long distance time sharing, because that is an issue that we all need to, it's coming up. I know there are going to be many parents who are dealing with it. And the question is, how do you best deal with that at this time? So long distance time sharing, if it is the standard court order, as you know, parenting plans can be very individualized and different. But generally speaking, spring break is going to be a big time when there's travel, whether it is your child going to visit the parent or it is the parent coming down to see your child. So I want to address that for you. How are you dealing with that? We know airline travel is open, but there are some guidelines, and we look at what the CDC advises. The courts at this point have not spoken on that, because that's really going to be an individual decision, but also our states governing what's going on. But certainly not, air travel has not stopped. It's just significantly decreased. That brings two issues up. So let's talk about the normal schedule would be your child's old enough, they would fly to go see their father. Well, now we're going to have less flights available just because there's decreased demand. And so that becomes the issue of scheduling. How do you make that happen? Number one. And then two, is it safe? Are they becoming exposed in two things? We're dealing with the airport, the plane, through security, and then now they've been contained in their environment. Now they're going to a completely different state environment, and you don't know what they're exposed to, and then they're going to bring that back. And I think those are some genuine health concerns. So if you and your ex are unable to figure that out, I think that we can offer some solutions. I think that as it stands now, the parents should travel to the children because of where you're contained in the community and their contacts. Then you're limiting that, because otherwise you're sending the child out and then they're going to bring that back to this community where, currently in Florida, everyone's trying to practice social distancing. Practically impossible in an airplane. It is impossible. And, the way I look at it is we have the people that we have all been in contact with, our immediate family, some of our neighbors, and no one's gone anywhere. To our knowledge, no one has been exposed or sick. So that would be the first suggestion, is that the parent travel to the child and that you don't send the child out of the state outside of really where they've been. Now, if the other parent doesn't agree, we're going to have to seek court action. And I would recommend, I've read, and I generally check on it every few days, the CDC website. We'll certainly post that on our Facebook page for you. I would look at it because it's about the best information on best practices, how the virus is spread. So I would look at that and certainly consult your attorney, give us a call if this is an issue with the child traveling and your ex is pushing it, their father is pushing it that they have to go rather than them leave. So we can look at that because I think there are options, and I think there are some reasonable best practices that we can advise you to follow that. Again, as I mentioned in one of last week's webinars, I want to protect you and help you make the best decision now, because there's going to be a lot of litigation, meaning we're going to be in front of judges in the next 4 to 5 months dealing with this issue. And I want to position you to be viewed in the best light possible, because obviously if you are the majority parent or have the majority time sharing, controlling that in a long distance situation, you do have more of a responsibility to foster the relationship and encourage the relationship. So by saying, no, I don't want them traveling, or, we want to make sure you are wording that and communicating that correctly. Many times our communication is not as clear as we think. And I'm the first one to think to, step in that and say, oh, I thought I was clear. And no, what I said was not as clear. So there are better ways to do that and facilitate the relationship, but keep everybody within the guidelines that certainly the government and the CDC have proposed. Also, the this, like what I'm doing now, Zoom, there is FaceTime, the availability of technology at present, as we know from everyone who is using the virtual school opportunities now, there's a lot of that available. And that is something I encourage all parents to use with their child if their child's not with them. And if the child's with you and the other parent's wanting to communicate, I encourage you strongly to use that method. They can look each other in the eye. They can have a meaningful conversation. It's not the same as, in-person contact, but it's a good alternative. So, investigate how to use that best on your devices so that the parent who's not with the child right now can have that type of connection. And then again, if I look at things from the perspective of we're going to court, we're going to be in front of a judge, what should you have done? It's easy to look back and suggest that. And, and that's what happens most of the time. We're in court. And of course, the other attorney, the judge is like, well, you should have done this. You should have done that. You were doing the best you could at the time, and maybe you didn't think of that. That's why I am saying, let's do better now. Seek counsel now so that you're making a better decision. And maybe you're not in front of a judge in 4 to 5 months because you got the advice now and you made some suggestions, some alternatives. You were creative and allowed your child's father to have some connection. Your children did, and then you're not even going to need us, and we're not going to have to be in front of a judge in the future. So one of the things that has come up consistently, I want to address again, just in case you didn't see any of the first webinars and you're dealing with a situation that you are what I think that the government has said an essential worker and essential business. And frankly, we think first of nurses, doctors, and our first responders, but another thing is our grocery stores. And I know they're not as, that's just a lot of people in there. And if you're working in that type of environment, or food service, you're managing a store, you are, in the grocery food industry, you are having exponentially more contact with individuals, whether they are your coworkers, employees, or just individuals coming in. So for all of those individuals who are in those industries, you are still working and going to work, hopefully, and much more than a lot of the other professions that are, currently, not going to work and, some not being paid. I'll talk about the money issue in a few minutes, but if that is you and your ex or your current spouse, if you guys are split, whatever it is giving you difficulty in when you're not working, being with your child, that is that's something that, again, we would like to advise you on and understand your specific circumstances, because you may have a higher level of risk. But I also think because you have that higher level of risk, you are taking even more precautions than maybe the rest of us who, as lawyers, we're doing everything by Zoom. Our contact with our clients right now is not in person. We're not going to the courthouse. So our interactions are limited considerably compared to others who are in essential fields and are working, but are interacting more with other individuals. So obviously, I know that if you're in that profession, you are taking even more precautions and understand how the virus is transmitted. So that would be part of how we would position that and make sure that you're seeing your child. And then likewise, though, you may have your child and it's your ex that's in one of those fields. We need to look at that. And are there, how can we facilitate the time sharing with with the child and their parents? At the end of the day, that's what's in their best interest. And so how do we make that work in a situation, in an environment currently now that's nothing, close to being normal, nothing close to what we are used to. So we're having to adapt almost every day because there's new information. And I suggest to you, if this is really becoming an issue, something that we can do is, we can file, and the courts are open. So please make no mistake, courts are open. They're handling all our standard issues. Our attorneys are, virtually attending court, and we're setting cases, and we're attending hearings via Zoom as this or telephone. And of course, they are dealing with things, emergencies first, and then, your standard things at a lower level, but doesn't mean they're not getting done. So with issues with children not seeing their parent, that climbs up the ladder a little bit. It still may take a little bit longer to get in front of the judge, but all of the mediators, at least in this area, are still working, and we can do everything virtually. They're taking a lot of precautions. That may be the best alternative right now is, we help you get to that situation so we can mediate and come up with an agreement. Because we're really trying to continue life as best we can right now. And that may be a good alternative rather than court. But the positive thing is there are alternatives. You're not stuck. It feels stuck in a lot of situations. It feels stuck when you aren't able to communicate with the other parent effectively. Right now, and this we're going to talk about on Friday, we'll have Family Law Fridays where we'll do videos every Friday morning. The topic this week is very top of mind and quite a concern at the moment. If your spouse has, had a traumatic incident in the past, and what we're going through right now is bringing up a lot of PTSD, and that's creating a lot of issues for a lot of women. I'm sure there are men as well. We represent only women, so we are talking to a lot of women who are dealing with this issue right now. The part about that makes it rise to another level is the potential for violence and fear. And I think we have already seen an increase in that. And I encourage you to reach out and speak with somebody if that is your situation, because one, the domestic violence can quickly go into a very dangerous criminal situation. If we can prevent that and protect you with what we have available in the law, we want to do that, and we want you to seek help. So please know that that part of the courts is still operating a little bit slower than normal. However, the injunction process is still available. And if children are involved, it does, again, it jumps up versus just husband and wife or ex-husband and wife situation. So please note that the current situation, we are seeing individuals who are already, have a history of any mental health issues, traumatic issues in the past, substance abuse, right now is can kind of be the tipping point, some things that are going on. And safety is paramount for you and your children. And those avenues that have always been open through the court system continue to be available. And we will go into that in more depth on Friday. So if you or someone you know has concerns about that or is experiencing that, please reach out to us so that we can, one, guide you, assist you, or tune in on Friday to that. One more thing to touch on with what's going on now and some things to think about that have come up with us in regards to timesharing is the schooling and the working virtually. So we have many clients who they're able to continue to work at home. And so is their spouse, their ex. But then they have children who are virtually learning. And it's not like sending them to school. They still need a lot of guidance and assistance. And that requires, who's ever is working virtually to balance that as well. That's an issue that is a bit newer for everyone because in the past, we sent our kids to school. So now if you and your ex-spouse aren't able to agree on whose responsibility it is for the children education or monitoring the virtual, I suggest it should be shared. It's a lot because everyone who can work and is in a field that every field's effective, but if you are still able to do your job, you need to do that. There are many individuals who aren't. And I know that is very difficult. So if you are, and if your spouse is, okay, those are two great situations, but it's important to balance that out. And if you are unable to communicate that with one another or come up with an agreement, we can advise you on that. Right now, schooling is going, I imagine right now, what we've heard is schooling will be virtual through the end of April. I mean, at that point, school is going to be out 4 weeks later. I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine they're even going to send the kids back. So, there's a lot of planning involved. So you may think, well, I can handle this right now. Well, it's April 1st tomorrow. So you've got a month of this. It's not like we're talking about a week or even 2. This could be the reality for the next 8 weeks. And we know at a minimum it's the 4. So it is important to balance out those responsibilities and allow you some relief, because that is going to take its toll if you're trying to do both and your ex-spouse or spouse is not helping you. We can assist with that. And then as we get closer to summer, I just want to plant the seed that you may have a time-sharing schedule that is going to be affected by all that is going on. And whether that's travel, again, long distance, whether that's who's going to have the child during what period of time, our camp's going to be open. We certainly hope so. Maybe you're going to need childcare. I do think there's a lot of childcare workers and probably the additional staff within schools that aren't needed. That there are people out there who can care for your children. That's going to be more expensive and going to require, some, working through if they're in your home as well. But if that is necessary, you and your ex need to have some agreement on that, because I would suggest that it's not just one person's burden to, bear that cost. And those are things we can help you with. Those are going to be things that are going to be different and need to be addressed and resolved between the two of you, if not within the court system. And the reality is it is taking longer than normal, but these things need to be resolved right now, and they need to be addressed right now, because the kids need to be cared for, educated, you need to work, your spouse needs to work. How are we going to adjust this? Everybody's going to have to be flexible. and communicate. And during periods of stress and divorce, sometimes that's more difficult. So it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just, it's more difficult. So we encourage you to reach out, and maybe we can advise you again, maybe from the outside in, we can offer some suggestions, solutions that you may not have thought of that may resolve the situation for you. And lastly, we're here for you. We're all in this particular situation together. We're all struggling and adapting as we go. Part of what I am working on, focusing on for all of you women out there is to provide you more resources, just guidance and understanding of what's coming out of the courts, what solutions are working for others, because we have the opportunity to, speak with so many women every week. And that gives us an insight as to what's going on, which is what we just want to provide to you: more resources, more solutions to help you get through this so that you don't feel so alone in this process, because you're not. We're all in this together. And now's the time to reach out. If you're in need of a resource, if you need help, let us help guide you through so that you can get to the other side and make it through this period of time, and still successfully parent, co-parent, work if you're able, and get our kids educated and through this. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me today and engaging in this. We are answering any questions, so you reach out, you call our office. We're doing the best we can to address your specific questions and help you navigate through this process. And just got to keep your positive attitude, do your exercise as much as you can so that you can have a clear head and get through this. So everybody stay healthy and reach out as needed. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you to everybody who was able to listen in for the third and final portion of this webinar series. As Heather mentioned, we are going to be starting a weekly series called Family Law Fridays. So be on the lookout for that. We're hoping to get started this Friday with that. And if there's a topic like that you would like addressed, or a question that you would like answered, please call us, email us, even send us a Facebook message, and it can be addressed in one of our upcoming videos. We hope that you found today's information very helpful. If you think of additional questions over the next few days, give us a call, send us a message. We're available by phone at 904-241-0012. And we even can still get you set up for a consultation with one of our attorneys as early as this afternoon. So please reach out to us if we can assist you with anything. Thank you again for joining us today. We hope everyone is staying safe. We wish you all the best. And our entire team is looking forward to being able to assist you. Thank you.